What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Balian, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about everything that went down over NFL Divisional Weekend. Jaden Daniels leading his Commanders squad into Detroit as a rookie and absolutely destroying the Lions, to Josh Allen leading the Bills to victory and the Ravens miscues. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, get into the episode, and let's start with the first game of the weekend. The Texans at the Chiefs. An expected win for KC, but a win that doesn't come without controversy. It seems like it's every week something new with the Chiefs, and this week it's not a new storyline. It's the refs yet again. I mean, giving Patrick Mahomes some unimaginable roughing the passer calls. And what made it worse, what made these calls look worse, is that there were similar calls that were made, or similar hits rather, that were made throughout the weekend, but weren't called pass interference. And it was mentioned on each and every broadcast where it was like, Patrick Mahomes gets that call. In the Chiefs game, Patrick Mahomes got a similar call to that. You saw it in the Lions versus Commanders game, and I'll get to that game in a little bit. Don't even worry about that. Where Jared Goff got absolutely blown up by Frankie Louvu. Do I think it was an illegal hit? No, because Jared Goff at that point is not a quarterback. He's just a player playing defense after he threw an interception. But that's a hit that Mahomes would have gotten. And that's a hit that a quarterback gets 95% of the time. It just happened to not be Mahomes. But overall, it's a game that the Chiefs should have won. That's taking care of business. I mean, the Texans shouldn't have been there in the first place. The Texans were lucky to be in that game. They were lucky to win the week before against the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers played terrible in the wild card round. Justin Herbert had one of the worst games of his career against the Texans just a week back. One of the worst games of his career. It happened at a bad time. And now the Chargers are at home, and then the Texans got lit up by the Chiefs. And I think the same result would have happened if it were the Chargers playing instead of the Texans. And now for the Texans, it's like, I think they need to make some kind of big move this offseason. Because what they have right now, it clearly isn't enough. It's clearly not enough for the Texans, where they're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to be able to get to an AFC Championship game unless some kind of crazy injuries happen or teams just completely fall apart. And I don't think any of that is happening on the AFC side of things. The AFC is going to be the stronger conference for the next 3 or 4 years just because you have the Chiefs, you have the Bills, and you have the Ravens. And then there's teams on the up like the Broncos. There's another team on the up like the Chargers. So that's, 4, 5, 6 teams I just named that are all going to be good for an extended period of time. And for the Chiefs, they got to win this Sunday. They've got to keep going. They've got to get back to the Super Bowl. They're looking at 3-peat. This is something that has never been done before. They're clearly the best team in the league when they're playing at their highest. They're clearly the most talented team in the league when they're playing at their peak. Now it's just a matter of getting over the hump with the Bills, which they've been able to do 3 times in the playoffs in recent memory. They absolutely own the Buffalo Bills franchise when it comes to the playoffs. When it comes to the AFC Championship, it gets even more dramatic. It's going to be a dramatic game, don't get me wrong. But I think, I don't know, I'm not going to give you my pick right now because there's an episode coming out with my picks probably on Friday again, so stay tuned for that one. But we'll see what happens. We'll see next Sunday, or on Friday. You make sure to tune back in for my picks. And the Chiefs will be pretty well rested. I mean, not a very stressful game for the Chiefs. They win 23-14, and a big part of that, the Texans kicking was absolutely horrendous. It was brutal. It was an utter catastrophe. I mean, 2 field goals missed, an extra point missed. That's 7 points right there. This was a 9-point win for KC. If you hit the extra point, it makes it a lot more different. I'm okay with their kicker missing that kick from 55 yards in Arrowhead. That's okay for me. I'm not too angry about that one if I'm a Texans fan. But the other kick, it wasn't very far. It was a very makeable kick, a field goal attempt that he absolutely should have made. And I blame this game on the kicker. I mean, let's look at the stats real quick for the Texans, because they weren't terrible. All right, let me go to the box score here. Texans, C.J. Stroud, 19 of 28 for 245. No touchdowns, though. On the ground, Joe Mixon, 18 for 88 and a touchdown. Okay, I can live with that. And that was it for the touchdowns. The extra point was missed on that kick. Or extra point attempt was missed on that field goal. And that was it. I mean, in the receiving game, Nico Collins, 5 for 81. Dalton Schultz, 4 for 63. Xavier Hutchinson, 4 for 52. Those are really the notable guys. And I don't know, if you look at what went against them from a defensive standpoint for more of the Chiefs, 8 sacks in this football game. The Chiefs got to the Texans. They got to C.J. Stroud 8 separate times. That's not very common. Steve Spagnuolo has never had this good of a defense. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Steve Spagnuolo, the former Giant coach, has never had this much talent as the Chiefs defensive coordinator. He's never had this good of a chance to really utilize his creativity in the play designs, and it's showing right now. Because what the Chiefs defense did against the Texans in this one, they did a really good job. I mean, the pressure was there all night. QB hits. They had 14 hits on the quarterback. And that's really it for the notable stats. I don't think any interceptions. Yeah, no interceptions. And that's about it for the notables for the stat sheet. I mean, I guess Mahomes under 200 yards and only a touchdown. But the Chiefs still find a way to win. Kareem Hunt with a rushing touchdown, 44 yards on 8 carries. And then, yeah, man, Isaiah Pacheco, 5 for 18. Not a huge game from him, but a good win for the Chiefs and a great way to take care of business, get out of that divisional round, and now you're hosting the AFC Championship yet again. 7 straight years that your Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship. 7 straight years in 7 attempts that Patrick Mahomes will be playing in the AFC Championship game. It is unheard of what he is doing. He's not the GOAT yet, but he's creeping up towards GOAT status. And with another couple Super Bowls, another couple AFC Championship appearances, I mean, you're talking 3-4 years down the line from now. We're definitely going to be having those conversations if this keeps up for him. All right, let's get to another game, and one that I think is going to be a sign of what's to come for both teams. The Commanders and the Lions in Detroit. Washington takes it 45-31. Jaden Daniels leads his troops into Ford Field and absolutely dominates the Lions. The secondary, which was the questionable aspect of the Commanders, looked awesome. Jared Goff did not do anything about anything against the Commanders. 3 interceptions. They gave up 5 takeaways, another interception that was thrown by Jameson Williams. 4 interceptions and 1 fumble. That's not okay. Jared Goff was the one with the fumble as well. So that's 4 takeaways on his part. That's 4 times he gave up the ball. He's supposed to be the MVP candidate. He's supposed to be the leader on this team. He's supposed to be the guy that's leading the Lions into these games every single week. He's supposed to be the commander. He's supposed to be the coach on the field. And he wasn't able to do it. And things are trending the wrong direction for the Lions. You already lost Ben Johnson to the Bears, and it only deepens the wound that he went in division. I think the Bears have a pretty good chance of being a solid team next year. I mean, you got Ben Johnson, you got Dennis Allen from the Saints. You have Caleb Williams, who showed a lot of promise as a rookie this season. They've got a lot of talent around him. I think you give Ben Johnson a year or two, and the Bears could be a playoff team. I said it, and I don't think it's crazy to say. I think the Bears could really be a playoff team next season. But for the Lions, it seems like it's crumbling. It seems like they're on the way down. It seems like they've hit their peak already. You already lost Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn is on the way out. He met with the Jets again today. I think he's going to meet with the Saints again for a second interview. He's not coming back. I think that's got to be in Lions' head, Lions fans' head, and people in the front office of the Lions, where you just lost both coordinators in one offseason. Both of them came back last season wanting to finish the job. You got the number 1 seed. You won 15 games, but you weren't able to do it in the clutch. You weren't able to do it when it mattered most, and the Commanders are going to the NFC Championship in Jaden Daniels' rookie year. Jaden Daniels, just transitioning to him, has been so good. He's played like he's a 6-year vet. He's played like he's been here before, and he knows the pressure. This is a Heisman Trophy winner. He won it last season at LSU. The question is now, are the Washington Commanders going to be able to go toe-to-toe and face off and defeat their NFC East counterpart, Philadelphia Eagles? In the regular season, these teams split 1-1. Each team won at home. It's going to shape up to be an awesome game, and I'm not going to tell you who I pick is, quite frankly, because I haven't made a pick on this game yet. And also because there's a pick episode coming out on Friday. Make sure you stay tuned. Had to plug it there. But getting back to the Lions, what do they have to do to stay as a contender? Because right now, I think the Lions are an 8-9, 9-8, 10-7, 7-10 kind of fringe team. Maybe they get in, maybe they don't. And if you're a Lions fan, I don't know how you cope with it, because this was the year, this was your time, this was when you're supposed to win the Super Bowl. You've been the best team in the NFC all year long, from week 1 to week 18. But now you lose first round to a team with a rookie quarterback, to a team with a first-year head coach. He's not a first-time head coach, but it's his first year with his team. That's not okay if you're Dan Campbell. And I have my doubts about Dan Campbell, because without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, I don't know what he's going to be. Quite honestly, I don't know what Dan Campbell's going to be. Yeah, his 4th down conversions and going forward on 4th down and trick plays, all of that's fun. But a lot of that comes from Ben Johnson. And a lot of that's the greatness that was their defense comes from Alex Anzalone, comes from Aiden Hutchinson, 2 guys that will be back next year. But the leader of that defense was Aaron Glenn. And he's going to be gone. He's not going to be your defensive coordinator next year. And you have to find a way to replace him with someone that has a comparable skill set. And I don't know who that guy is. I don't have a name for you right now. I don't have anyone who's going to fill that need. I mean, they're talking about Al Golden's going to be the new defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. He was their DC a couple years back. But right now, the Lions don't have an offensive coordinator, and they don't have a defensive coordinator. And there's not a ton of guys that are looking to get back in the mix and looking for coordinator jobs. Brian Flores wants a head coach job. Mike Vrabel's off the board. Ben Johnson's already gone. He was your guy. Brian Flores, he could come. Like I said, he wants a head coaching job. I don't know who else is out there. I mean, there's not that many names this year, and there's not that many names left, because a lot of teams have jumped on it and they've signed their guys early, and they've done a really good job. But for the Lions, there's a lot of question marks now, man. Yeah, they have this loaded offense, but who's going to lead it? Yeah, they have a loaded defense, but who's going to lead it? Is Jared Goff going to be able to recreate this awesome year? I know he's been a really good quarterback in the past, and I know he's had really good years, in a Lions uniform. But at the end of the day, the Rams, who made the trade for the Lions, with the Lions, the swap of Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, and a lot of picks, I'll give you that much, and a lot of picks that have seemed to pan out for the Lions. Who won that trade? Because the Rams put up a better fight than the Eagles transitioning to that game now, 28-22. I know the Rams lost, but they played a really good game. And at the end of the day, it did come down to Matt Stafford. And Matt Stafford airmailing his receiver on a fourth down play that could have set the Rams up for a first and goal with a chance to win it. He had led an awesome drive, an awesome comeback bid for the Rams. It seemed like they were going to win the game. But on fourth and short, Matt Stafford throws the ball way out of bounds. And the Eagles hang on to win. In the game, Saquon Barkley, 2 huge rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts a rushing touchdown early, and that was really it. I mean, those are 3 touchdowns right there. One of them was at the end of the game. Saquon Barkley had another huge game, I think another 200-yard game against the Rams. The second time this year he's done that. 26 carries for 205 yards and 2 tutties for Saquon. He's awesome. He's great. And he could have been a giant. I mean, it's honestly ridiculous. But you love Saquon Barkley. But you love Daniel Jones. He led you to a road playoff victory. He led you to a 9-8 record and a playoff win. He was great for you. Great giant. You want to pay him $140 million, and you don't want to pay Daniel and let him walk to your division rival. That's what you want to let happen. I don't think John Mara is going to sleep till this NFC Championship. I mean, the way it shapes up with the Commanders and the Eagles, 2 NFC East rivals, one with a quarterback that you won 2 games to win yourself out of drafting, and then the other that you controlled his destiny. He wanted to come back. He wanted to be a giant, but you didn't want to pay him. And Joe Schoen, I put this blame on you. And Brian Daboll, I put the blame for this on you for continuing to ride with Tommy Cutlets, for continuing to play guys when you knew who was there, when you knew there was a Jaden Daniels coming out of this draft class, when you knew there was a guy. I mean, Joe Schoen's son knew it. Joe Schoen's son went on Hard Knocks and said that's the guy you should draft. And he was right. He made the right pick. I get there's a lot more that goes into it. I get that the Giants had that they weren't going to lose on purpose. That's not the way the NFL works. But that's how it ended up. And another thing I want to talk about, I don't know if this game ends the same way if it's not played in the snow. I think the Rams have a lot better chance of winning this football game if it's played maybe not in LA, but just not in the elements, not in the snow. And I know it's football weather, but I'm not trying to make an excuse for the Rams here. But I think there is an element of that goes into it. I think there is a part of this game that was determined by the snow. I mean, the LA, those boys are go to the beach every winter. They're not good. They're not in the snow. They're not in Philadelphia. And I know these guys have vacation homes that they're going to in the offseason, but it definitely played a role. I mean, Matt Stafford seemed like he couldn't grip the ball as well. It seemed like he couldn't play. I don't know. He wasn't playing up to his standards because he had been playing really well since he got his receivers back. And it's rough to see. I mean, he said he's going to mull on his future a little bit. He's not definitely coming back. The Matt Stafford era of the NFL might be over. And saying that, I mean, the league is in very good hands with a Patrick Mahomes and a Lamar Jackson and a Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts even, and Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud and Bo Nix. All these young quarterbacks that are really good and are really on the uprise right now. All these young guys that are going to be in control of this league for years to come. But Matt Stafford might not have thrown that ball out of bounds if it's not in the snow. And his future, he might have had another week to play. He might be taking on Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship game if this isn't in the snow. He might not be mulling his future yet. he might have staved off his career for another week. But that's football for you. I mean, he played in Detroit. He should be used to the cold. If there was a couple guys that I thought were going to be ready for the cold, he would have been one of them. And I guess he wasn't. So, it is what it is. Eagles win. A nightmare of an NFC Championship game for me, the rest of Giants Nation, Dallas Cowboy Nation. I mean, those are all fake fans anyway, so they don't really care. But it's a blow. It's not a pretty time in Giants land right now. And they've got to do something to figure it out to right this ship. But as of right now, they don't have it. They don't have it. And it is what it is. All right, let's get to the last game of the week. The Bills and the Ravens in Orchard Park, New York. Another frigid game. There is a narrative as well that Lamar Jackson doesn't know how to play in the cold. He doesn't know how to play in the playoffs. And he proved those rumors correct. He didn't end those narratives. He didn't get rid of them. He only strengthened them. Lamar Jackson in the game. Let's look at the box score real quick. 18 for 25, 254 yards for 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good stat line if you ask me. But an interception. And 2 fumbles for the Ravens. So that's 3 turnovers. Lamar Jackson played fine. I mean, 85 QBR, 114 quarterback rating. I'm okay with Lamar's performance, but he's got to do something in the playoffs before I can end these narratives. Before I can finally say that I trust Lamar Jackson in a playoffs. Before I can say and I can admit that he's a guy that can go out and win you playoff games. Because right now, all he's done in his career is lead the Ravens to the number 1 seed in the regular season last year, beat the Texans in the divisional round, and then lose to the Chiefs in not good fashion last year. I mean, I know that was a close game on paper, but the Chiefs were always in control. So right now, what has Lamar Jackson done in the playoffs to prove to you that he's a guy that you could trust? To me, it's nothing. To me, he hasn't done enough. And to me, Lamar Jackson's not the guy in the playoffs. I don't know if he'll ever win one. Because in the NFL, it's one of the hardest sports to win a championship in. And Lamar, he hasn't proven it to me. But there's got to be something said about Mark Andrews as well. And I'm going to get to that right now. Mark Andrews, with the season on the line, drops a 2-point conversion that could have tied this football game and sent it to overtime. Mark Andrews could have tied it up, and Mark Andrews could have kept the Ravens season alive. But he dropped a wide open pass on the goal line on a perfect route, on a pretty good throw from Lamar. I don't think there was a big... There wasn't like a big issue with the throw. I don't think there was any issue with the throw. And I'm placing the blame on Lamar Jackson, but Mark Andrews is right behind him. There were some miscues from Derrick Henry. There was that big drop in the first quarter that it could have been a 25, 30-yard reception. But Mark Andrews couldn't hang on to the ball. Or Derrick Henry, rather, couldn't hang on to the ball. And there was some miscommunication. One of the Lamar's interception was a miscommunication. I think he just threw the ball over his receiver's head. Airmailed it, not even close. But, I mean, when the Ravens are losing without even punting in this football game, that's a problem. And the problem lays on the quarterback. The problem lays on the guy who's throwing the ball, who's paid the most money on the team to get the ball to his receivers, to lead his team to victory, to come out prepared, and I'm not saying Lamar wasn't prepared for this one, to come out prepared each and every week and lead his team to be competitive and to be a team that can take down another squad like the Bills who are vying for a Super Bowl championship. And for the Bills, This is the year. You got to get it done. It's not going to happen again. If you don't get it this year, where the Chiefs are a little bit weaker, where there's some cracks in their armor, I don't know if you're going to do it. I mean, we said the same thing last time, and the Chiefs came out and won the football game. We said the same thing last year, and the Chiefs came out and just dominated. Not dominated, but they won the football game, and they won it in pretty, I don't know if it was convincing fashion, but they won. And that's the bottom line. And the game laid on the foot of Tyler Bass, and he couldn't convert the field goal. But this year, it's got to be different. I mean, they won this game. They were taking care of business. They're the better team. Josh Allen is my MVP. For sure now, that win clinches it. But now what are you going to do against the Chiefs? What are you going to do against Goliath? Are you going to be able to slay the dragon? Are you going to be able to stop what's got in your way time after time after time? This is what the playoffs was going to come down to. I think this AFC Championship will decide the Super Bowl. I think whichever team wins out of the Eagles and Commanders will keep it close. But I think the AFC wins the Super Bowl yet again. And especially if I choose Kansas City to come out on top. Make sure you stay tuned for that episode, because that's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Balian. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, following, liking, commenting, sharing it with a friend. I really appreciate it. If you want to have your voice heard on the Sports Pod, make sure you leave me a voicemail at 848-305-8073 with your sports questions and takes. I'll react to them in the next episode. And most importantly, keep it locked with the Sports Pod.